Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Sunshine State Rails, and I don't know if leap years play any part in this, but it is way too hot to be May right now. School's let out for the summer, and I was on the internet one late night and saw of some interesting engines that would make their way to Bradenton the following morning. So what did that mean for me? I wanted to go see them. Go figure. This isn't some groundbreaking trip of discovery or anything. I just figured I'd make a morning out of it because we don't shoot the inbound juice train too often, which we would this morning, leaving the house at 05:30. So let's jump up to the Little Manatee River and get this show on the road. Well, good morning from the river at Port Manatee, or I'm sorry, the Little Manatee and the southbound juice train. And this place has changed so much you won't even recognize. Unfortunately, that is no understatement. The Little Manatee Swing Bridge has changed so much in recent years. All the signals that used to protect the Dark Territory Bridge have all been replaced with new ones. The bridge itself, that used to hold Atlantic coastline markings, has been repainted, and all the circuitry is new, and the bridge is remote control now. As with every other movable bridge in the Tampa Bay area, this one is now remote to where the Alafia River bridge tender stationed on the Alafia River can control it from one building. So no longer does a bridge tender have to come out and manually open or close this bridge. But with that has come the installation of security cameras and many other electric structures that have obscured most of the photogenicity of this spot. So unfortunately, this will no longer be one of my preferred Palmetto Subdivision locations. But we had a few more spots to try and exercise on our trip south as we followed close behind L700. L700 is the new train identification for the Juice Train, or the Bradenton Local should it more accurately be named. The train that we knew since 2017 that served the Tropicana plant as 0823 has now had a symbol change to L700. This is following CSX's symbol and prefix changes that have been coming up this year, with the new prefixes more accurately representing what the train is. The L stands for local, because this is a local switching job. Up until now, the locals were distinguished by them having a different letter prefix based upon their region. But after the symbol changes, regardless of region, they will all be switched to the L prefix. However, the symbol change doesn't change what this train's duties are. And nowadays, it's pretty much only to serve the Tropicana plant in Bradenton. And as today's crew brings the morning consist down from Yeoman Yard in Tampa, they'd have a pretty short consist of miscellaneous freight and 3 empty reefers. Pretty inconsistent, but we didn't leave the house at 05:30 for the train's consist, but rather the lead locomotive, CM40-8 number 7799. 7799 is one of the wide cab -8 models from the 90s, however this one is a CM40-8 with the M standing for modified. Some time ago, this -8 and a batch of others got a bunch of internal and electronics upgrades. However, regardless, this is one of the -8s that was retired back in 2020 and brought back into service after the COVID lockdown last year. So as with any sort of old style motive power, it's always good to shoot them while you can. And the hybrid Nathan K5 LLA horn atop this locomotive was also an intriguing factor for me. Coming into Bradenton, we'd set up on the river walk of the Manatee River to catch the short local crossing the giant river span and the over 100-year-old drawbridge that still sits atop the water here. couple miles down the line and we're at the 26th Avenue road crossing at the throat of Tropicana's Yard beneath the US 301 overpass. Our train would have to pull south of the yard tracks and shove the train in. The engineer then shoves the entire consist into the yard tracks of Tropicana. The majority of today's inbound train would be miscellaneous freight. Only 3 reefers for Tropicana were coming home this morning, which is frankly a disappointing backhaul, but unfortunately this kind of inconsistency has become and will continue to be commonplace over the next number of years, such being the result of the gradual decline in citrus juice consumption. The Tropicana plants here, or anywhere else for this matter, are only a mere shell of what they used to be. But it's still important enough to be serving trains, and as long as that's true, I guess I can't complain all that much. Once our crew had put the train back into the yard, they'd move the locomotives back out and off to the side. There they would wait for a couple of hours until 0705, the current symbol for the Tropicana Yard switcher, came on duty with the morning crew to assemble this morning's loaded train out of the loading docks in the yard to then hand them over to our crew at 26th Avenue. Oh 0705's conductor rides the bottom of the 4th car in the train because once they pull all the way south of the yard, that's where they're going to make the cut, between cars 4 and 5. Although they've pulled 8 out of the yard, our train will only be taking 4 today.
Back up here about 5, couple of 3099. 5. Give it a stretch.
They stretch the cars apart to ensure the coupling. Then with a 3-step, the conductor gets in between to lace up the air brake hoses, while the engineer gets their EC1 to go back to Tampa.
L700, ready to go back the other way. Alright, 98728, now race both directions, 0950 SCS. Alright, L700, 008, release my 3-step clear all track. Good step release, train's all yours.
On the way out of town, we'd stop for the train at the old Bradenton Depot. Constructed in 1925 as a passenger station for the Atlantic Coast Line and later Amtrak, the station was taken out of service in 1952, but in the early 2000s the depot was preserved, still barring the original city name, Bradenton. As a result, the depot still stands today, now repurposed as a variant of medical offices. Just after 10 o'clock in the morning now, at a familiar spot, this is where we'd break it off. Well, back to the present moment and wow, temperatures are right up there. Getting a sweat mustache already now. It actually started out as a pretty nice morning, but by now at 10 o'clock, the temperature and humidity are at I'm ready to go home levels. Again, this is nothing crazy, just some videos I got this morning that I thought I could slap together into a video. Hopefully it was somewhat enjoyable. Thanks to conductor Toby on this train this morning for the conversation in Bradenton. I actually learned a lot about where I might be going in the next few years, so really appreciate that. On the Palmetto Subdivision, this is Coda Beaner, and I'll see you next time somewhere around on the Sunshine State Rails.